Hare Krishna. So we are starting with Govinda Kadaca, Govinda Dasa's Kadaca study session today. Govinda Dasa Kadaca is written by Govinda Dasa and translated into English by His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj. Maharaj has dedicated this book to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, who inspired the world to take up the path of bhakti. Table of contents. About the Govinda Dasa Kadaca. My birthplace is Kanchana Nagara in Bardhaman. My father's name is Shyamadasa. My name is Govinda. Caste is blacksmith, maker of weapons, utensils, chains, and vehicles. My mother's name is Madhavi. My wife's name is Shashimukhi. One day she quarreled with me and spoke roughly. Calling me a fool with no good quality, she rebuked me. In the morning, I left the house because of that offense. In 1430 Shaka, I left. I did not want to go back as I was filled with anger and pride. Eventually, I came to Katwa. Arriving there, I heard the name of Sri Chaitanya. Everyone praised him. Hearing that praise, I hurried to see him. Traveling all day, passing many fields, in the morning, crossing the Ganga, I came to a ghatha on the river. Below Nadia, the Ganga is called Mishra Ghata. Seeing the capital of Nadia, I was filled with bliss. Seeing the capital of Nadia, I was filled with bliss. On the right, the Saraswati River. On the right, the Saraswati River sang, giving bliss to all in sweet voices. Above the Ghata was Shiva Sangan. There was a broad canal nearby. Above the Ghata was Shiva Sangan. There was a broad canal nearby. The dilapidated house of King Ballalal was also close by. I thought of eating, staying at the banyan tree at the Ghata. At that moment, Sri Chaitanya came to that place. He had a cloth tied around his waist and had an astonishing form. With him, there was Nityananda Avadhuta with a smiling face. Dancing with 3 or 4 devotees, Chaitanya descended into the Ganga. The brave Avadhuta jumped into the water from the bank and swimming about played in the water. Later, Srivasa, Damodara, Siddha Haridasa and Srivasa, Damodara, Siddha Haridasa and to his left Gadadhara, and finally Advaita Acharya came. I have never seen anyone as effulgent as Advaita. He had full head of hair and a large attractive beard which hung down just above his chest. Nityananda became absorbed in shouting the name of the Lord while swimming to the other shores. Everyone jumped into the Ganga one by one and swam, playing about. For this footnote, the number 1, Maharaj has explained, an ancient picture can be seen in Banga Sahitya Parichaya, volume 1, page 757. He had full head of hair and a large attractive beard, which hung down just above his chest. Here, number 1 footnote is an ancient picture can be seen in Banga Sahitya Parichaya, volume 1, page 757. I began to examine the astonishing form of Chaitanya. I was entranced by the glow of his form. After bathing, he climbed on the bank. His curly hair hung down his back. After bathing, he climbed on the bank. His curly hair hung down his back. His limbs were the color of pure gold. His eyes were long like blue lotus petals. He had beautiful cheeks and a fine forehead. He walked easily like an actor in a play. His thighs defeated the beauty of banana trunks. His eyes supported 2 attractive eyebrows. His feet were as if stained with lac, giving joy to the eyes of a sage. His body was filled with prema. He uttered the name of the Lord. He mercifully embraced whoever he saw. Saying the Lord's name, tears fell from his eyes. Tears shot from his eyes like water from a syringe. Gauranga began to walk. Nityananda followed behind. Nityananda followed behind. One person introducing himself as the head of the district introduced others. I drowned in an ocean of bliss on seeing the water pastimes. Speaking to others, the Lord came to Shachi's house. Her heart was longing to see him. On the pretext of giving up my house by good fortune, I quickly came to Navadvipa Dhama. At the Ghata, I saw such pastimes. I do not know what emotions rose in my mind. My hair stood on end so that my limbs were like kadamba flowers. Perspiration soaked my cloth. My tears of desire covered my feet. My hair stood on end so that limbs were like kadamba flowers. Perspiration soaked my cloth. My tears of desire covered my feet. Perspiration soaked my cloth. My tears of desire covered my feet. The Lord came with smiling face, hair falling down his back. Seeing me by good fortune, he began speaking to me again and again. I came slowly. Turning limp, I fell on the ground, holding his feet. At his feet, my voice choked up. At his feet, my voice choked up. Merciful Nimai held my hand and made me sit. At his feet, my voice choked up. Merciful Nimai held my hand and made me sit. At his feet, my voice choked up. Merciful Nimai held my hand and made me sit. Sitting with folded hands in front of him, I wept. Saying a few words and laughing, sweet streams flowed constantly from him. Sweet streams flowed constantly from him. My heart was enchanted with the fragrance of his limbs. His thin body was mad with chanting the Lord's name. Several devotees with choked voices were at his feet. How can I describe my emotions? Millions of devatas came and rolled at his feet. Even though the Lord was standing in a dark room, the effulgence of his body destroyed the darkness. It seems the moon in a solitary place had somehow been kneaded into a paste. Anyone who sees this will become detached completely from material life. Laughing, he spoke to me. He carefully asked my name. He asked, "What is your caste? What's your name? What's your work? Where do you live?" Hearing his words, I folded my hands and began to speak to him. "Why do you show such mercy to me? I'm most fallen. My name is Govinda Dasa. I was a householder and did various jobs in the house, but I have become a beggar on the road. Giving up material enjoyment, I've come to see you." Oh Lord, give me a place at your red lotus feet. I live in Katwa, Bardhaman. My father's name is Shyamadasa, blacksmith. Hearing these words, the Lord said to me, "O Govinda, stay at my house. You will be protected at my house. Every day you can do Nama Sankirtana in joy. Every day you will take Krishna's prasada in joy. Your mind will be completely satisfied. Every day you will take Krishna's prasada in joy. Your mind will be completely satisfied. Every day you will take Krishna's prasada in joy. Your mind will be completely satisfied. You'll be constantly engaged in actions of service, bringing and offering Ganga water and Tulsi leaves. You'll be constantly engaged in actions of service, bringing and offering Ganga water and Tulsi leaves. You will fill your stomach with prasada daily with sauces, spinach, sukta and banana flour. Sukta and banana flour. Saying this, the Lord wanted to take me with him. I went to the Lord's house. There was a most attractive house over the Ganga with 5 rooms, beautiful to behold. The Lord's house was at the southern edge of the town. The Lord was always intoxicated in chanting the holy name. The Lord's house was at the southern edge of the town. The Lord was always intoxicated in chanting the holy name. Nearby was a huge pond. Sometimes it's called Ballala Sagara. Nearby was a huge pond. Some called it Ballala Sagara. I will tell all the names of the devotees who were always with the Lord. They were Advaita Acharya, Swarupa, Srivasa, as well as Advaita's 2 sons, Achyuta and Krishnadasa, as well as Mukunda, Murari Gupta, Gadadhara, Narahari, Vidyanidhi, Chandrasekharacharya, and Sridhara. The Lord would do private bhajana with several intimate devotees. Nityananda, like a madman, would constantly weep with choked voice. Sachi, the personification of peacefulness, with short stature, would constantly call out, Nimai, Nimai. Vishnu Priya was the Lord's wife. She was busy day and night serving the Lord. She was shy, polite, and spoke softly. She was shy, polite, and spoke softly. I went to serve her feet. Staying in Shachi's house in this way, I cannot describe all the work I did there. Skillful at eating, I ate in joy. Finishing work, I would walk around with him. Finishing work, I would walk around with him. Every day there was offering in Vishnu's temple consisting of finishing work, I would walk around with him. Every day there was offering in Vishnu's temple consisting of fruit, roots, cheese, butter, condensed milk, fruit, roots, cheese, butter, condensed milk, spinach, soup, yogurt, sukta, modaka, sweet rice, big laddus, and mishtaka, delicious to eat. Every day Shachimata cooked and everyone ate prasada in bliss. I am the servant of the king of gluttons. For 12 months, I ate from the merciful Lord's plate. What can I say? There's no comparison with this prasada of which one morsel is equal to nectar. There's no comparison with this prasada of which one morsel is equal to nectar. In this way, I stayed in the Lord's house. Everyone mercifully called me the servant of Chaitanya. The master of masters is my Chaitanya. I would go everywhere with him. I'd go everywhere with him. His heart was always overwhelmed with attachment to Krishna. On hearing Krishna's name, he would cry. If someone said Radhe in a loud voice, immediately he would weep profusely. If someone said my life is Krishna, he would come running and embrace him. One day in the evening at Angana, the Lord sat with the devotees. At that time, Nityananda began shouting repeatedly, Yamuna, this is the place of the Rasa dance. This is the Gata on the Yamuna. Where are the hundreds of gopis and where is Krishna? Where are the hundreds of gopis and where is Krishna? Hearing Nityananda's words, the Lord quickly came running and jumped into Ballala Sagara, overflowing with love, overflowing with love. The Lord began swimming while the devotees stood and watched. In this way, daily the Lord's anuraga increased. From the intense prema, his body grew thin. Merciful Chaitanya was not satisfied. He said, taking sannyasa, I will teach the jivas. With grass in my teeth, I will travel to all villages. Giving the name of the Lord, I will deliver all jivas. Giving up family life, I will go to Katwa. Keshav Bharati Guru will deliver me. I will not take sannyasa in a noisy house. Otherwise, how will I deliver all jivas? Deliver all jivas. The Lord desired to take sannyasa. My heart was most disturbed on hearing this. The Lord called Nityananda and spoke, I will take sannyasa. Do not prevent me. In pious Magha month during Uttarayana, I will take sannyasa. Keep this secret. Say this to Mukunda and Gadadhara. Keep the secret. Say this to Mukunda and Gadadhara. Do not broadcast this news everywhere. Keep the secret. Say this to Mukunda and Gadadhara. Do not broadcast this news everywhere. Indicate this to Shachi and do not spread it among the devotees. Hearing this, all the servants' hearts seemed to split into two. Let me die. I cannot endure the suffering. My master Gauranga will take sannyasa. He will take sannyasa. My heart will break into 100 pieces. He will take sannyasa. My heart will break into 100 pieces. How can I work? I am lighter than a blade of grass. 100 thunderbolts should fall on my head. How can I tolerate separation from the Lord? How will I pass time without Chaitanya? The Lord then rose and went to Mukunda. I went along weeping because of the tears. I could not see the road. He called Mukunda and spoke, I will accept the danda and water pot. Giving up shika and thread, I will accept sannyasa. If I do not do this, how will I deliver the jivas? Hearing this, Mukunda began crying. Tears flooded his broad chest. He fell on the ground. The Lord took his hand, raised him, and made him sit. Oh, merciful Lord, my life departs. What did you make me hear? Hearing your words, my head breaks from misfortune. Spreading the holy name for a few days, I also will leave the house and take sannyasa. Hearing this, the Lord went to Gadadhara and spoke the truth. Hearing his words, Gadadhara shouted. The sky split and fell on his head. He fell on the ground limply. His body became red and with streams of blood. His body became red with streams of blood. Recovering and sitting up, Gadadhara spoke, bring poison, I will drink it immediately. How will I bear separation from the Lord? The pain of being bitten by 1,000,000 scorpions is insignificant compared to this. If Nimai, my life, renounces, I will go with him because of my attachment. When Murari and other devotees hear this, their minds will become vacant. What is the use of the body if Chaitanya leaves? At that moment, a thunderbolt will strike our heads. Then Gadadhara held his feet and began to speak while showering tears. When your mother hears this, how will she maintain the life air in her body? When the other devotees heard this from each other, they began to speak with agitation. Someone said, 1,000,000 scorpions bite my body. Someone said, my life burns in fire. Someone fell from a standing position like a cut down tree. Someone fell backwards with clenched teeth. Hearing all this, my Vishwambara began to inform everyone in detail. The Lord went to the devotees and spoke sweet words to them all. Then, on hearing the news, Shachi fell down unconscious as if insane. She cried loudly, shedding tears upon her chest, covering it completely. Oh child, oh Nimai, where will you go? Hearing her lamentation, the birds and animals began weeping. Then Nityananda entered the Lord's yard and heard the news with Shachi. The words like a thunderbolt split her heart. She fell on the ground with force, beating her chest, crying at the top of her voice. She turned the ground into mud with her tears. Hearing this news whispered by others, Vishnupriya sat down, putting her hands on her head. Tears flowed over her chest. It seemed that an ocean of lamentation arose. Ganga did not glance at her. It seemed that an ocean of lamentation arose. Gauranga did not glance at her. Gauranga did not glance at her, but went to Shiva's Sangana. There at Shiva's house, he began a huge Sankirtana and became unconscious. Overwhelmed by the Kirtana, he began dancing and his clothing fell off. Overwhelmed by the Kirtana, he began dancing and his clothing fell off. And dancing and his clothing fell off. His whole body became like a kadamba flower. My Dharma Veera danced in an unconscious state. Blood oozed from his hair paws. His limbs became injured as he fell down. Telling them to dance, wearing a garland and clapping his hands, he danced with the devotees. Telling them to dance, wearing a garland and clapping his hands, he danced with the devotees. On the evening of the Pausha Sankranti, the Lord returned to his own house. Many people came and went, and Shachi's lamentation increased. Many people came and went, and Shachi's lamentation increased. Saying sweet words to his mother, he came to the kitchen and met her. At 2 praharas in the night, the Lord ate and slept. I went to my place to rest, but at the order of the Lord woke up. At the end of night, the merciful Lord suddenly went outside and called me. Wait here and be ready, he said, bidding farewell to my mother's feet. I will come. Wait here and be ready, he said, bidding farewell to my mother's feet. I will come. Saying this, he went inside, again came out and called me. Disturbed, he said to me, come with me. I'm going to cut my bondage. Do not say this here and there. Taking sannyas, I will deliver the jivas. Come with me, I'm going to cut my bondage. Do not say this here and there. Taking sannyasa, I will deliver the jivas. The jivas of Kali Yuga are selfish, sinful, drink intoxicants and eat meat. Tell me, what is the method for them? Dedicated to the genital and belly, devoid of steadiness, wanting money, they constantly lie. Like worms in the womb, they devour the saliva from young women's mouths. They reject the streams of nectar of bhakti. They follow prostitutes unlike their food. They're absorbed in lustful acts, desiring money and women. For this reason, I will give up my shika and thread and wander from door to door, giving out the name of the Lord. I will preach the name of the Lord, the Maha Mantra, which does not require diksha, and at the gata and on the road. Outcast youths, householders, children, elders, and women becoming intoxicated with the name. Will stand in lines. Young girls and young boys will chant the name. Pashandas on the path to hell will become intoxicated with the name. The flag of the name will fly, piercing the sky. Kings and citizens will become choked up together. If I do not accept sannyasa and the kopina, how will I deliver the sinful, suffering, and miserable people? Seeing the contaminated condition of the jivas of Kali Yuga, my heart trembles and cannot tolerate it. Accepting the water pot, accepting the water pot and kopina, I will take sannyasa. Chanting the names of Radha and Krishna, I will deliver everyone. My heart breaks always for the sinful, suffering people. As he spoke with me in this way, Shachi Devi appeared at that time. In a confused hurry, she came outside and stood facing him, her hands spread out. The Lord held his mother's feet, bid farewell, and left. Standing at the door, his mother cried. mother's feet. The Lord held his mother's feet, bid farewell, and left. Standing at the door, his mother cried. I followed behind him, carrying his wooden shoes. Shachi stood like wooden doll, shedding tears constantly. Leaving by the door, the Lord crossed the Ganga and left. Crossing even to Katwa, I followed to perform services. Whatever astonishing pastimes I saw, I recorded as a chronicle and keep according to my ability. We arrived at Katwa in the evening. Cymbals, conches, and bells. Cymbals, conches, and bells resounded in every house. In the evening, he saw all the devotees, Mukunda, Chandrasekhara, Nityananda, Nityananda, Brahmananda, Gadadhara, Gangadasa, his teacher, and the singer Shiva. At night, filled with prema, Gauranga began dancing while chanting. Thousands of people came to see. Seeing the bhakti for Krishna, everyone was astonished. Some gave me fruits and others gave garlands. From the Lord's form, light emanated in all directions. Million cupids could not be compared to his beauty. The movements of his waist conquered the middle of a dhamaru drum. Wherever his eyes glanced, there were showers of blue lotuses. He was tall with arms extending to his knees. He was tall with arms extending to his knees. With grass in my teeth, I desired Dasya Bhakti to Gauranga. With grass in my teeth, I desired Dasya Bhakti to Gauranga. In this way, the night passed in dancing and singing. Seeing many people, Gauranga spoke. Oh, brothers, everyone, pay attention to my words. There's no difference between Krishna and Krishna's name. Worship Krishna, think of Krishna, and say Krishna's name. Worship Krishna, think of Krishna, and say Krishna's name. Oh, brothers, by the power of the name, you will go to the eternal Dhamma. Oh, brothers, by the power of the name, you will go to the eternal Dhamma. Everything you see is illusory. In Vedas, this is called the shadow of Prakriti. Only a shadow of your desires will remain. In Vedas, this is called the shadow of Prakriti. Only a shadow of your desires will remain. When Yama comes, he will squeeze your throat. There's no difference between sleeping on a bed or on the ground. Those who see difference will lament. The person who becomes proud on obtaining material objects becomes an insect in hell according to the scriptures. There's no difference between a king and a pauper. Oh, brother, seeing difference brings about ignorance. There's no difference between a king and a pauper. Oh, brother, seeing difference brings about ignorance. A fistful of food fills the king's belly. A pauper is satisfied with that also. Lying on the ground, one goes to sleep, breathing happily. The king cannot fall asleep on a priceless bed. The king cannot eat gold. Diamonds, emeralds, or pearls, but intoxicated with wealth, he does not think of this. Just as the pauper will die at his time, the king will go to the house of Yama. Maya binds up the king's eyes. He is blind, moving like an ox used for grinding. The ox walks around in one place and dies. The ox walks around in one place and dies. He does not change his course in a million years. When the Atma Rama becomes liberated, he leaves his material body like breaking out of a limp cage. When the revered body rots, jackals and dogs eat it and fill their bellies. The intoxicated jiva sinking in dark samsara suffers and dies attached to material objects. In ignorance, a person accepts a daughter or son, a palace, a pond, a garden, beautiful women and gold. Sometimes he's someone's daughter and sometimes someone's son and sometimes a husband. Rejecting all material conditions, think of Krishna. Rejecting all material conditions, think of Krishna. Sons, daughters, wealth, grains are all illusory. Rejecting all material conditions, think of Krishna. Sons, daughters, rejecting all material conditions, think of Krishna. Sons, daughters, wealth, grains are all illusory. The only true entity is spiritual consciousness. Speaking about rotten householders absorbed in sons and daughters, one becomes exhausted. When one increases material possessions with consultations, one simply obtains great pain like an insect in a root. When one increases material possessions with consultations, one simply obtains great pain like an insect in a root. Great pain like an insect in a root. The form of Krishna shines everywhere. A person with pure eyes can see that form. The form of Krishna shines everywhere. A person with pure eyes can see that form. The form of Krishna shines everywhere. A person with pure eyes can see that form. The fool sees with material eyes, being attached to material objects. Material eyes, being attached to material objects. The devotee, eternally liberated, sees with eyes of spiritual knowledge. When the revered body rots, jackals and dogs eat it and fill their bellies. The intoxicated jiva, the intoxicated jiva, sinking in a dark samsara, suffers and dies. Dark samsara suffers and dies attached to material objects. In ignorance, a person accepts a daughter or son, a palace, a pond, a garden, beautiful women, and gold. Sometimes he is someone's daughter, and sometimes someone's son, and sometimes a husband. The fool sees with material eyes, being attached to material objects. The devotee, eternally liberated, sees with eyes of spiritual knowledge. How can the person whose eyes are blinded by material dust see subtle tattva? Filled with prema, a person sees prema in everyone. Who knows what is the nature of prema? It is service to one's wife. Is it service to one's wife? When one sees man and woman as non-different, then certainly the tattva of prema will manifest. If prema means longing for children, then that is not prema at all. If one longs for the Lord, then certainly the great souls call that prema. With attention here about the tattva of pure prema, a small wave of prema. Small wave of prema will cool the burning heart. The devotee does not experience the pain that a young woman feels on seeing a young man. For this reason, the devotees worship Krishna. They fix their minds on him in the mood of being his wife. For those who feel longing for the Atma Rama, how can lust remain in his mind? Just as darkness does not remain where there's light, lust becomes ash near Krishna. Only the longing of prema remains. Saying this, I give healing prema. Earning for prema, act to attain it. You will be successful and the pain of samsara will go. Life becomes hell by quarrels, argument, hatred, and lying with a duplicitous mind. Life becomes hell by quarrels, argument, hatred, and lying with a duplicitous mind. Desiring wealth, a householder lies and sometimes cheats and kills other human beings. Desiring wealth, a householder lies and sometimes cheats and kills other human beings. Desiring wealth, a householder lies and sometimes cheats and kills other human beings. He speaks rotten household topics. He speaks rotten household topics and becomes exhausted taking care of sons and daughters. He speaks rotten household topics and becomes exhausted taking care of sons and daughters. He does not think, who do you belong to? Who belongs to you? Becomes exhausted taking care of sons and daughters. He does not think, why do you belong to? Who do you belong to? Who belongs to you? He becomes busy earning for the material body, a dull lump of matter. He does not see that death is certain. He only thinks that he will live a long time, or he studies many scriptures negating matter. All such people become utter fools. The more he studies and becomes intelligent, the more he becomes selfish. And becomes intelligent, the more he becomes selfish. He says that others' wives are like mothers, but when alone, he becomes full of lust. For others, lust and anger are enemies, but for himself, they are friends. One can only imagine the unlimited suffering in hell. As long as there is no bhakti to the Lord, such persons stay in hell. One can give up ordinary wealth for oneself, but one cannot deceive oneself if there are a million coins. But one cannot deceive oneself if there are a million coins. The only essence for the jivas of Kali Yuga is the name of the Lord. Chanting that name, one goes to the eternal Dhamma. Chanting that name, one goes to the eternal Dhamma. Always chant the name of the Lord with hair standing on end. Chanting that name, one goes to the eternal Dhamma. Always chant the name of the Lord with hair standing on end. Always chant the name of the Lord with hair standing on end. Why cause difficulty in the market of Kali? Always chant the name of the Lord with hair standing on end. Why cause difficulty in the market of Kali? What is the difference between a palace and a hut? What is the difference between a palace and a hut? Oh, brother, ask and see from a learned person. What is the difference between a palace and a hut? Oh, brother, ask and see from a learned person. Just as a king sleeps on a bed in a palace, a pauper sleeps in his hut. What is the difference between a palace and a hut? Oh, brother, ask and see from a learned person. Just as a king sleeps on a bed in a palace, a pauper sleeps in his hut. Oh, brother, ask and see from a learned person. Just as a king sleeps on a bed in a palace, a pauper sleeps in his hut. Just as a king sleeps on a bed in a palace, a pauper sleeps in his hut. King sleeps on a bed in a palace. A pauper sleeps in his hut. The king eats and drinks from gold vessels and plates. A man in a hut drinks water from an earthen pot. Both are relieved of thirst. The gold plate of the king is just an illusion. He has a crown for soup and jewels for vegetables. Can the king eat diamonds cooked nicely? The king, intoxicated with pride, cannot see this. Again and again he comes and goes. Chaitanya taught in this way. There was a crowd of people sitting beneath a bilva tree in Katwa. He gave various instructions in a loud voice. The instructions from his mouth were the essence of the Vedas, hearing which the jivas were liberated from samsara. In this way, the day and night passed. The next day at dawn, the Lord took his bath. In this way, the day and night passed. In this way, the day and night passed. The next day at dawn, the Lord took his bath. In this way, the day and night passed. The next day at dawn, the Lord took his bath. The women, wiping their eyes with the edge of the cloth, they shed torrents of tears. Someone said, his form takes away all suffering. How can his mother maintain her life? He defeats the pride of a million cupids. His hair's beauty for the eyes. His locks of hair are beautiful and pure. His lotus eyes conquer the blue lotus. I've never seen such an amazing form. Why should Nimai wear a kaupina and carry a danda? Keshav Bharati is made of stone. Shaving off his hair is most cruel. The garland on his neck is splendid. The beauty of his face illuminates all directions. In this way, the women spoke. At that time, the Lord called me skillfully. He said, quickly bring the ingredients. I will shave off my hair to accept sannyasa. I will no longer remain in the house in a state of bondage. I will no longer remain in the house in a state of bondage. There's hellish pain in the house. Hearing this talk, Gadadhara, who was Shuddha Sattva, Nityananda and Chandrasekhara brought the various materials suitable for sannyasa and filled the sannyasi storeroom. Hearing this talk, Gadadhara, who was Shuddha Sattva, Nityananda and Chandrasekhara brought the various materials suitable for sannyasa and filled the sannyasi's storeroom. They called and brought a barber named Deva. The barber came and sat under the bilva tree. Then Chaitanya said to the barber, "Oh Deva, shave my head. I will go to Vraja. Shave my head, I will go to Vraja." Receiving the order from Bharati, the barber sat and began shaving off his hair. When the barber finally began cutting off all his hair, the women wept loudly. The women said, "Oh barber, do not do this job. Do not cut off his hair." Saying this, they began weeping. Then the barber began shaving him. Saying this, they began weeping. Then the barber began shaving him. Thousands upon thousands of people came to Katwa to see the sannyasa ceremony. Thousands upon thousands of people came to Katwa to see the sannyasa ceremony. At the end of the day, which had shaved, I put on a sannyasi's dress. With danda and water pot in his hands, he wore a kaupina and red cloth. Standing in front of Bharati, Nimai excellently illuminated the directions with his beauty. Nityananda, Gadadhara, and Gangadasa stood beside him. Seeing the Lord's astonishing form in his mind, Bharati offered respects at his lotus feet. In his mind, he said, "Oh Gosai, you are the Lord. The universe of moving and non-moving beings is dependent on you. Wanting to teach the people, thinking of the suffering people, you put on a kaupina to show the path of bhakti. Oh Gosai, you are the Lord. The universe of moving and non-moving beings is dependent on you." Oh Gosai, you are the Lord. The universe of moving and non-moving beings is dependent on you. wanting to teach the people, thinking of the suffering people, you put on a kaupina to show the path of bhakti. Wanting to teach the people, thinking of the suffering people, you put on a kaupina to show the path of bhakti. He became a sannyasi in the afternoon. The women began to ululate. The creepers, leaves, branches, and trees floated in prema. The women began to ululate. The creepers, leaves, branches, and trees floated in prema. Birds, animals, and insects began dancing. Thousands of people showered flowers. Katwa became the Nandana garden of Swarga. Bharati gave him the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Bharati gave him the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered. The pious women filled their hands with laja, popped rice. The pious women filled their hands with laja, popped rice, and showered it on his head. The sound of ululation pierced the sky. The sound of ululation pierced the sky. Everyone became choked up with the taste of bhakti. The name pierced the ether and wandered in the sky. The name pierced the ether and wandered in the sky. All the Devatas heard this and became mad with bliss. The Lord woke me up in the night. He spent the night chanting japa madly. In the morning, he spoke to Chandrasekhara. You all go to my house in Nadia. Go with Brahmananda to my mother. Tell her that I took sannyasa. If she cries, immediately pacify her with words. Then Nityananda went with Gadadhara, taking Bharti as well. While playing in various ways, I followed, being behind, carrying his wooden shoes. While playing in various ways, I followed behind, carrying his wooden shoes. Chaitanya was intoxicated with the name. Hundreds of thousands of people followed the Lord. Many scholars came to see the Lord. Rudradeva, Ramaratna, Jagai Pandita, Gangadasa, Shambhu Chandra, famous on earth, Ishana, Shankara, Balarama, Gadadhara, Chanda Chandeshwara, the best of scholars, Kashishwara, Nyaya Ratna, and Siddheshwara, Kashishwara, Nyaya Ratna, and Siddheshwara, and Panchanana, Vedantika, as well as Ratnakara, all great scholars went along with the Lord. As well as Ratnakara, all great scholars went along with the Lord. Mad with prema, Krishna Chaitanya went joyfully. Dancing constantly, the Lord ran in front. Mad with prema, Krishna Chaitanya went joyfully. Dancing constantly, the Lord ran in front. Dancing constantly, the Lord ran in front. Sometimes he ran and sometimes jumped and fell on the earth. Tears flowed from his eyes. Bharati cried on tasting prema. Bharati cried on tasting prema. Fully absorbed, the Lord went eastwards. Bharati cried on tasting prema. Fully absorbed, the Lord went eastwards. He ran to Acharya's house, intoxicated with prema. He stayed some time in Acharya's house, and at that time Shachi came and was allowed to see him. And at that time, he stayed some time in Acharya's house, and at that time Shachi came and was allowed to see him. Offering respects at his mother's feet, Lord Krishna Chaitanya spoke a few words to satisfy her. Offering respects at his mother's feet, Lord Krishna Chaitanya spoke a few words to satisfy her. Saying a few words, escaping Maya, he journeyed south, leaving everyone. Ishana, Pratapa, Gangadasa, Gadadhara, and Vaneshwara went with the Lord. When we came to Bardhaman, he thought that would be best for me. Glancing at me, spoke. His words fell like streams of nectar. His words fell like streams of nectar. Slapping me on the back, he spoke, "Oh Govinda, go to your house." I was astonished. Laughing, he went away in an affected manner. When the Lord took sannyasa, I held his kaupina. Giving up pride, I became humble. Slapping me on the back, he spoke, "Oh Govinda, go to your house." I was astonished. Laughing, he went away in an affected way. When the Lord took sannyasa, I held his kaupina. Giving up pride, I became humble. I no longer had a desire to engage in samsara. I went with the Lord while dancing, going on the road. I folded my hands and spoke a few words in response. Going on the road, I folded my hands and spoke a few words in response. "Oh Lord, I will not go to Kanchananagara again. I will not go to Kanchananagara again. I gave up low family life, considering it to be equal to stool. I gave up low family life, considering it to be equal to stool." As I said these words, my wife, somehow hearing and had quickly come there. Tears flowing from her eyes, she fell at my feet. With tearful face, she began speaking these words: "Return to the house, I will go with you. You gave the family life because of some ordinary talk. What did you do, making me a maidservant? Where will I go to beg? Who will mercifully give me alms? By what fate will I go to some door and beg, wandering around hungry?" Hearing her words, I bowed my head. I began to speak eventually in my mind, "Hari, Hari, my remembrance of the Lord, all bondage is cut." I began to think of the Lord's feet. Merciful Chaitanya then saw me and began speaking sweet words. Hearing the Lord's words, the suffering woman became soaked with tears and became intelligent. While she cried, glancing in all directions, the Lord spoke words to her. Suddenly, hearing the Lord's words, she wiped her eyes with the cloth as she wept. The Lord's mercy arose crying. He turned to me and spoke. He said, "Govinda, remain in your house. I'll go to Puri with." Hearing those words, my eyes filled with tears. I held his feet in pain. My tears covered his feet. The Lord turned and left. My neighbors gathered and began making me confused. I began speaking about the poison of family life. I explained the secret of women. "Oh, brother, hear the woman's message. The wife becomes the life of the husband. The wife becomes the life of the husband. If you look at a portion of the Atma, you will see the wife and husband together. Those who that this is sweeter than nectar close their eyes and drink the wife's saliva. The rascal who thinks this happiness is eternal bliss passes his life uselessly." The rascal who thinks this happiness his life uselessly. Gauranga is the complete eternal Brahman. Gauranga is the complete eternal Brahman. Giving up his association, I will accept family life. While saying this, Damodar took me to Kashi Mitra's house. Kashi Mitra was a most pious person. Kashi Mitra was a most pious person. The Lord went and stayed in his house. Arranging the meal, Mitra offered fine rice. Seeing the rice, the Lord praised it. The Lord said, "This rice is very fine. What do people call this rice?" Mitra said, "It's called Jagannatha Bhogha. If one prepares a meal from it, all desires are fulfilled. It's called Jagannatha Bhoga. If one prepares a meal from it, all desires are fulfilled. Hearing the word Jagannatha Bhoga, the Lord was astonished. Immediately waves of prema began to flow. Weeping, he said, "Oh Jagannatha, quickly bring me to you and accept me." Cooking spinach, soup, and various items, putting them together, the Lord was intoxicated with bliss. The directions became fragrant with the aroma of Beto Shaka. My mind became unsteady with the food being offered. The Lord said, "Quickly bring Tulasi, make the offering. I will energetically distribute prasada. Your child here is very hungry." He glances around many times. I felt most astonished at the Lord's words. I lowered my head. After the offering, he distributed prasada. The life I was satisfied with sukta and cooked vegetables. I ate 8 pieces of fried bitter melon happily. I took big mouthfuls of food. Chukra amla became like nectar with raw sugar. Eating plenty, my face became filled with bliss. Gauranga left Mitra's house in the afternoon. He ran to the south. Gauranga left Mitra's house in the afternoon. He ran to the south into a trap of prema. Eventually, I came to the village of Hajipura. Chanting the name. The Lord made the village insane. Eventually, I came to the village of Hajipura. Chanting the name, the Lord made the village insane. Outside the village, there was a huge banyan tree. I sat there gently, and in the evening, the Lord began Sankirtana. The name pierced the ether and rose in the sky. The Lord began dancing, intoxicating the place. Where was his kaupina and cord? His clothing became disheveled. Sometimes he fell with force on the ground. Saliva flowed from his mouth here and there, and his voice choked up. Hundreds of people joined and became insane with Nam Sankirtana. Hundreds of people joined and became insane with Nam Sankirtana. All the men and women became mad with the name. Hundreds of people joined and became insane with Nam Sankirtana. And his voice choked up. All the men and women became mad with the name. By good fortune, that was the excellence of the name's power. Small boys and girls, elders, as well as the youth and young women clapped their hands and danced with devotion. Half the night passed in this way. The Lord then cooked the Half the night passed in this way. The Lord cooked the begged rice. One devotee of the village brought ghee. The Lord fried my bitter melon with ghee. My king of Nadia offered Nima Sukta with ghee and fried bitter melon. My king of Nadia offered Nima Shukta with ghee and fried bitter melon. The Lord ate only a fistful of prasada. Then I sat down with a plate. The Lord filled my plate with prasada. Fidgeting, I took the prasada. When I filled up my stomach and stood up, I went to the Lord's feet and surrendered. The Lord touched my stomach, and immediately my stomach became normal. I then shouted, "Hari, Hari." The devotees there were most astonished. I then shouted, "Hari, Hari." The devotees were most astonished. The next day at dawn, beautiful Gauranga got up, called the devotees, and spoke in detail. He took permission from the devotees to leave with his associates. He then left running. When he reached Medinipura, hearing the news, people came running. Among them, one wealthy person approached. He was speechless on seeing the form of the Lord, named Keshava Samanta. He was very rich. On various pretexts, he spoke on various topics. Laughing, he said, "Oh, best of sannyasis, take some money that your heart desires. Give up the kaupina and wear clothing. Why does a young man take sannyasa? Oh, yogi, be happy serving your senses. Why do you die serving renunciation?" Hearing the wealthy man's words, the Lord slightly smiled and with humility gave instructions. He spoke. Scriptures say that money, gold, and emeralds are transformations of earth. The transformations of earth will always become earth again. Why are you puffed up with pride? Do not step into the Lord's trap of Maya. If you do so, you will repeatedly have to die. The person who wants to die repeatedly never gives up the bondage of Maya, giving up everything a person should worship with devotion. Then the highest bliss will arise in his mind. Then the highest bliss will arise in his mind. Wandering about thinking, this is mine, one does not know one. No, one is entering the mouth of death. Wandering about thinking, this is mine, one does not know one is entering the mouth of death. When death chews you up in his teeth, how many beautiful women will stay with you? How many beautiful women will stay with you? How much gold, silver, and wealth do you have at that time? How many milk sweets remain at that time? Your respected body will be burned to ashes if the body does not rot. Jackals will eat it. Your head will be mixed with a shoemaker's stool. Worship Krishna, chant his name. Useless time will go away. Why are you proud of all these temporary things? Why are you proud of all these temporary things? The eternal entity is Krishna. He can bring peace. Oh, wealthy man, hear my words. Can you eat diamonds, pearls, and emeralds? One fistful of food allays hunger. Then why are you so proud all the time? In this way, the Lord instructed the wealthy man, saying a few words, glancing at me, let's go to Narayana Gada. Going there, we will be happy. Saying only this, I got up quickly and I put the wooden shoes on my shoulders. Gauranga was absorbed in bliss on the road. We came to that place at Narayana Gada. There was a Shiva Dhaleshwara. He ran to see the deity. This was the village deity at Narayana Gada. The Lord began to weep. He said in a loud voice, Hara Hara, and fell on the ground. He became choked up with prema. His clothing and water pot fell away. Great sattvika bhavas manifested. His hair stood on end in prema and blood oozed out. His outer garment and kaupina fell off. Some sannyasis as well as vanaprasthas and brahmacharis came there to see the bhava of the Lord of Nadia. They were all astonished on seeing the prema and bhakti. They fell on the ground saying that he was a devata. Chanting the Lord's name, the Lord began to dance. Chanting the Lord's name, the Lord began to dance. Seeing his great prema, everyone has stood on end. Everyone danced under a tree. I, most sinful and low, seeing some laddus, wanted them. I developed greed to eat them and fill my stomach. The Lord Antaryami, understanding my intentions, being merciful, gave me laddus to eat. Eating 4 or 5 laddus, my stomach became full. One Brahmana brought and offered cool water. Gradually, all the people One Brahmana brought and offered cool water. Gradually, all the people of the village, hearing the news, gathered at that place. Offering bhoga, the Lord divided the prasada. Assembling, everyone took prasada. Seeing the devotion when they took prasada, I felt strong emotion. Seeing the devotion when they took prasada, I felt strong emotion. I was greedy and first filled my stomach. Then I became repentant in my mind, wanting to destroy my sins. I held the Lord's feet, saying various words. He placed his foot on my head. The confusion is in my mind immediately dissipated. Then the Lord danced with absorption. Everyone danced intoxicated with the rasa of the Lord. Then the Lord danced with absorption. Everyone danced intoxicated with the rasa of the Lord. Some danced and some rolled on the ground. Someone ran to a tree saying, Krishna. Gradually, many people gathered at that place. Men and women, young and old, everyone listened to the words of the new sannyasi. One by one, they came and sat on at that place. Vireshwara Sena and Bhavani Shankara came with many people to see the Lord. Vireshwara Sena and Bhavani Shankara came with many people to see the Lord. Shankara came with many people to see the Lord. 4 groups of horses and elephants and many vehicles gathered before the Lord. 4 groups of horses and elephants and many vehicles gathered before the Lord. Bhavani Shankara was a very wealthy man. He came with hundreds of people on the back of an elephant with drums and colorful flags. He made 4 directions beautiful. They were all intoxicated with pride, insects of material enjoyment. Seeing this, the Lord was merciful within. Seeing their condition, merciful Chaitanya made them fortunate, giving them bhakti, giving them teachings on bhakti. The Lord made them intoxicated. Hundreds of thousands of people became like dolls. Became like dolls. With grass in his teeth, folding his hands, the Lord spoke. Everyone, hear my ordinary words. Listen, the people. The words like a gypsy's magic. Overwhelmed by sleep, you climb on a throne and think you are a king. You consider hundreds of people to be your friends. Hundreds of thousands of citizens come and offer gifts. You never think what is all